Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you game 2 of a best of 5 between Mix and Tofuk in the semi-finals of the Division 1 playoffs of the WARNO League. Today they are playing on death row, and on our left in the blue team we have Mix playing with the 8th US Infantry. And on our right in the red team we have Tofuk playing with the 3rd US Armoured. So an actual US civil war occurring in this one. The 8th, I would say, is a little outmatched on this map in particular, just because it's a slow map, and there's a good chance that the 3rd can therefore build up its abundance of heavy armor in the form of the M1A1HAs and use that to really wipe the floor with their opponents. But it's really up to Mix to kind of take the initiative here in this fight. Let's have a quick look at what is going down. So Tofuk going to be bringing in 50 cal jeeps with scouts. He's got the M150 also on the top side. Definitely liking the use of those Tofuk. He used them in the previous game as well. We've got the Stinger there on the top side. Stinger for the mid. M1A1 Abrams CP with a Bradley, two Bradleys actually, with an M1A1 in there as well. He's got the ITO and another M2A A1 Bradley on the bottom side. For Mix, he's going to be going for the LRS push early on up the mid. Got a Jaeger Avkala for the bottom and the top side. He's also got one for the mid there. He's got some military police patrol with the M67 recoilless rifles. He's got Jaegers, he's got the Stinger, and he's got some mech rifles on the bottom side with the M113 with a Dragon HGM launcher on it. And then into the mid, he's got one M1 Abrams and the two M113 A3 Dragons with mech rifles lore and the Chaparral. So going to be interesting to see how Mix uses the 8th US in this one, as previously we saw Tofuk using the 8th US. So Mix maybe trying to make a bit of a point here. But F15 coming in immediately for the ground strafe onto the LRS there to help the scouts try and win that engagement. M150 revealing its position by engaging the M151 Jeep as it tries to retreat. Taking out those transports is always nice because it does stop your opponent from refunding them. And that means like less for their economy overall as the game continues. But here we go, the fire team's unloading. The Bradley's going to be engaging the Jaeger Avkala and LRS at range, but the M1 Abrams in a good position here to potentially do some damage to these tanks. But a big hit there from the Bradley, the TOW 2 going straight through the front armor of that M1A1. The smoke just in time to stop it from taking a second. On the bottom side, the M113A3 Dragon dueling with the Bradley. Bradley not managing to get a shot on target. This center fight though still very, very important, as the Bradley has gone down there. M1A1 smoked off. Did it smoke in time? Just about. The F111 failing to one-shot the M1A1. Usually cannot one-shot heavy tanks. Ends up actually getting shot down, so that's huge. As the F-15 Sea Eagle does manage to get away, and the F-16 goes down. So a massive victory here for Tofuk in the air, whilst losing out quite heavily, I would say, on the ground. On the bottom side here, Mix has made some good progress with his infantry. The M2A2 or A1 cannot sit in position there because of the lackluster infantry that Tofuk had to defend it. Meanwhile, in the center, the M1A1 was not in position to help with this engagement, and therefore both of the Bradleys died and both of the fire teams got pushed back. The other M113 was just cleaned up by Tofuk at least, but he's going to need to get some reinforcements there as soon as possible. Does have the mech rifles on the way, does have another M1A1 heading up the center, has a unit of fire team coming in just the Humvee. That's an interesting choice. Meanwhile on the top, the military police patrol were taken out. That must have been the 50 cal there, and the scouts, the 50 cal Jeep and the scouts dealing with that. Jaeger Avkala managed to get all the way up here, and the Bradley can't sit at close range against the Panzerfaust because it will manage to kill it off. This Jeep having to fall back for the time being. We see here Tofuk bringing up the M35 supply to fix up his M1A1. He does have the second M1A1 in position up here, and the key to Tofuk's victory really in this situation is just to make sure that he continues to gain an armor advantage throughout. But so far his position is very precarious on the bottom side. He can't really let this go, but he at the same time doesn't have great infantry to push out Mix's infantry. So the way in which you'd probably want to do this is get like a tank up on this hill or something, which has like line of sight into the edge of this tree line, and just kind of play it defensively here. So if you're going to actually focus heavily on the mid, which it looks like Tofuk is currently trying to do. This 50 cal Jeep has done fantastic work. This Jäger Auftaler down to one man. The M1A1 was forced away due to the fire team 84. But on the bottom side, this Bradley has managed to find the other fire team. Actually, I think that was Tofuk's fire team's getting taken out. Tofuk actually really noticing the lack of AA here. Nicely done, actually. AH1F's going to clean house if Mix is not too careful. The F-16 being forced to be purchased in order to take that out. And does manage to do so successfully. The trouble with the Cobra, of course, is it doesn't have that much health. They only have 8 HP. And this Fighting Falcon's looking for a second. The PVAD's not going to be able to stop this Fighting Falcon, but may still be able to shoot it down on the way out if the Stinger gets a shot on target, which it did not. So the F-16 there, getting great value. Both of the AH-1Fs go down and manages to survive with his aircraft. No Eagles to be seen. And probably just because there was more reinforcements invested on the ground just before that occurred. The M2A1 Bradley here, now an easy target onto these men. And the mech rifles here, they don't have a dragon. They have the law, so they're able to, or they're not able to engage the M2A1 here. This fire team, Mix, you can see, is trying to creep it out here and get it round. Tofuk noticing, gonna be forced to fall back. M1A1 getting shots onto the Jaegers here, engaged by the mech rifles. Meanwhile, on the top side, Jaeger's gonna find the M150, and honestly, Tofuk's gonna have to be careful of this Jaeger flanking him as well. So Mix doing a good job of kind of keeping the pressure on the flanks, not focusing too much on the center of the map. He is still doing enough that Tofuk has to micro here, but at the end of the day, if he can keep the pressure up on the side here, it'd lead him to a really, really nice position, because the M1 Abrams CP has found its way up here. There is no leader in this sector at the moment. I think Tofuk's about to realize that as he moves the MUT CP over, but the Bradley has gone down. The fire team have gone down. The engineers are soon going to follow. The M113 taken out by the M1 Abrams. This M150 not really going to be able to deal with an M1 Abrams face up like that. And these aren't necessarily like free units, you know, they're 45 points a pop. So an easy kill for the Abrams, and puts Tofuk further behind on that bottom side. And now it's really up to Tofuk to kind of utilize his position in the mid, get these two M1A1s working for him, plus the M1A1 Abrams CP. Unfortunately, he is being really, really distracted by this engagement on the bottom side. The M1 Abrams forced to fall back here as the Phantom came in with the cluster munitions. This only has 2 Rockeyes, so not the most effective cluster bomber, and honestly kind of unlikely to kill. But there we go, only a little bit of damage done to the Abrams as it moves back into position. And meanwhile, the military police patrol were pushing forwards, and so were the fire team, but they ran straight into the fire of the mechanized rifles while the M1 Abrams wasn't supporting them. So both of those units being wasted, I would say, by Mix, kind of unnecessarily. You don't really want them to be moving across the open unless your tank is able to support, because by your tank shooting at the enemy infantry, it will lower their cohesion, causing them to be less effective, and that's why you can then get away with running across the open. But in this case, Yeah, just a bit wasteful. Tofuk now able to get plenty of infantry reinforcements back into position, and the M150 finding the side shot onto the M1 Abrams CP will get rid of the threat on this bottom side for the time being. But it has put Mix 4 points ahead, and in the WARNO League rules, whoever ends with more points wins. I don't believe there are draws, so currently the onus is on Tofuk to now take back the points in this game. Now, if you look at this bottom side after Mix's attack, a counter-attack from Tofuk would be absolutely brutal right now. So we'll have to see if Tofuk manages to get his troops into position here, because there is a big hole in Mix's defense. And with the arrival of these reinforcements down here, Tofuk's done a good job of cleaning things up. He does still have the two M1 Abrams M1A1s and the M1A1 CP there, so that's great. And the Eagle's going to take down the second F111 FLGB, so that's really nice. Recon Bradley taken out on the top side by the Jaeger Auftada, I imagine, and Phantom 2 on the bottom side. Did that just kill a Stinger with its bombs? Was that there? Let me just click on that and see if it is. Yeah, I think it was. Crazy. Anyway, F-16 coming over the top and taking out the Phantom 2 on the way out is going to mean that's no longer an option to use for Tofuk. And two M35 supplies being sacrificed in the center from Tofuk at the same time. There's probably a good chance that if those were empty, that Tofuk might just be throwing them at his opponent, but ideally you do want to sell these for the 20 points. I just really want to see Tofuk get into the enemy point here on this bottom side, because he currently has a really nice advantage on the bottom after Mix's failed attack. And usually these good players will sense that their opponents are just going to be out of units, and he is slowly realizing that. He is, of course, just attack moving his engineers forwards. If he's not going to bump into anything, he's just going to keep going. So he will eventually find his way into this sector. It's just that he hasn't really done it fast enough. So there is going to be time for Mix to get reinforcements into position. You can see the mechanized rifles coming down. You can see the two Fireteam AT4s and plus another mech rifle. F-15 going to be helping finish off the mechanized rifles in the center. M1A1s trying their best to engage the engineers here. I do find these engagements between like mirror matched units, like M1A1 versus M1A1 for example, to be kind of reliant on RNG. So we'll have to see how those go. The M1A1 Abrams CP is engine destroyed. As soon as its smoke runs out, there's a good chance the Mix might try and just kill it off with this M1A1. The Cobra sneaking around the top side, doesn't actually have any rockets left. And the request for high support from Mix there is going to keep that marked. M1A1 Abrams lost to its counterpart on the bottom side. Ito taken out on the top side. And one thing that I was just thinking, which was interesting in a comment a little while ago, someone was saying how these games are very much reminiscent of like war games that sort of armies would play against themselves or against other factions in NATO in order to kind of practice for a war. So I guess you can kind of look at it that way if you are finding it weird that these M1A1s are engaging each other. But currently, Tofuk, you know, he did manage to clean up the M1A1 here, so that's good. The one on the bottom side is still causing a little bit of an issue. On the bottom, a very, very bottom, the engineers will be able to defeat fire teams at close range because of their shock trait. The mechanized rifles are going to defeat the engineers at range, though, if they are allowed to, because the engineers don't activate their shock trait at that range. So at range, generally, it's all about numbers and who can get enough guns on target. So that's why the mechanized rifles are working in this case, and the engineer and fire team are winning in this case. So both sides trading. The Dragon, is that going to get a free kill? Yes, it is. I do find it a little bit wasteful to let these mechanized rifles kill your transports with those Dragon 2s, just because 50 cal transports can be so effective against infantry that doesn't have solid AT. Like in the case of the mech rifles with the law, you can have the 50 cal sit back and engage them from range, for example. Bradley is able to do enough damage to these mechanized rifles that the accuracy on those is significantly lowered. If I hover over the cohesion value here, you can see that accuracy is reduced by 75% due to low cohesion. Cohesion is nothing to scoff at. It's something you should always be paying attention to on your units. Never force them to fight when their cohesion is low. M1A1 having to smoke itself off. Shots were continuously coming in here. The M35 supply moving up might be able to get more recoilless shots on that MP patrol, which would be nice for him to be able to continuously put pressure onto the M1A1. But here we've got a bunch of infantry now pushing through, putting the M1A1 Abrams CP at risk. Meanwhile, Tofuk on the bottom side really getting a lot of work done, breaking through the infantry line. But here comes the reply. Just as Tofuk did to Mix, Mix is doing to Tofuk. The Cobras coming in and mincing this unsupported infantry. He left the Stinger behind, and it's not going to be able to support him very well in that engagement. Now Jaeger Aufkladder being engaged at close range by PVADs and the Abrams. These units being pinned and killed off very, very fast indeed. 384 kill there though. Abram on the bottom side, well, the Stinger missed and all this infantry is evaporated. So both players looking very, very light now on this bottom side. The Stinger's going to miss the mark on the H1F. And yeah, the AH-1Fs are now free to continue killing. They can use the 20mm chain gun to hit the Bradley. They can keep wiping out any engineers because there's no more Stingers on the way. Chaparral is going to be running to the front line. So M1A1 Abrams versus M1A1 Abrams. And both of them left on low health. 1 on 3, 1 on 4. The M1A1 manages to stay alive here, but what is all of these wrecks? There is a Bradley wreck, a couple of transport wrecks, nothing crazy. Oh, big hit there though. M1A1 Abrams CP getting hit, and then the MNRS coming down on top to finish it off. Huge. Then the F-15 does come in, take down a F-16 Fighting Falcon. That's going to be looking to take care of these Cobras. Mix did buy a lot of these Cobras. I think he had a total of 4 there that he ordered in. But check it out. That PVAD's not in the right place to kill those off. It's rushing to be in position. But it's ended up stopping. I think it just turned around briefly. And that's time that cannot be wasted as the Engineer Dragons get absolutely pummeled. This AH-1F weapon failure probably could have been rescued. But yeah, that was a decisive engagement to say the least from Mix. Things were looking so good for Tofuk, especially on the bottom side. He had massive local superiority down here. Just needed like an extra Stinger squad and he would have been able to move that up with him, and that would have secured this position on the bottom side really nicely. But the mid there sequentially just taken apart by Mix. I thought initially that Tofuk had fended off this push of infantry through here, but all the while Mix was managing to get pressure in from the bottom side of this sector to the point where that M1A1 was in a bad spot, gets picked off, and now things are looking very bad for Tofuk in this game. He's only got 2 M1A1s, the PVADs, and the H1F Cobra there. And then on the bottom side, it's just the Bradley and an AH-1F Cobra. So more reinforcements are going to be rushing onto the map for both sides. The mech rifles are going to be invested upon on the bottom side for Tofuk. Actually, it looks like those are going to be heading towards the bottom of the mid sector. And these are going to be heading to help clean out this tree line. Yeah, that investment into the MRS there was actually huge. Now, these aren't cheap. That's 320 points. But having taken out an M1A1 Abrams CP, definitely worth it. So, big kill for sure. These things are 280 points. So, that's well worth it, especially considering the M270 can be reloaded. And the Hemmet here, trying to be used to get the H1F Cobras back online. It's kind of a risky place to be doing this, especially since the mech rifle can likely see it. And we did see the rockets before, so there's a good chance that we'll see rockets again. And you don't really want to be creating a nice blob like this for those rockets to hit. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this time around because Mick's not aiming in that direction, but still had 4 227mm rockets available, so definitely could have. And now these mech rifles are actually definitely going to be able to see those because they're right on the edge. And the M1A1 Abrams here, if that sneaks forwards and finds a shot onto the Cobra on the ground, I would laugh so loud because that is hilarious. This Cobra is very much at risk right now, but it just depends if these units spot the Abrams in time, and it looks like they will. The Cobra, in fact, firing with rockets on the ground. What a Chad. Faced in the right direction to help get the kill onto the M1A1 as it comes through. I wasn't sure if those units at close range would have spotted the Abrams there, but Abrams a big boy and does get spotted by the Engineer Dragon, most likely. So there we have it. And the H1F taking damage as it tries to retreat will have to be fixed up once again. So Tofuk here been allowed to get back on his feet a little bit after being left with basically no forces. Now the M1A1 Abrams CP pushing ahead on its own into this tree line. Extremely risky. Oh no, the H1F Cobra just dumped all of its rockets into that Unimog. That is not what you like to see. And then gets shot down by the Stinger. Oh, and the M1A1 Abrams goes down to the Jaeger Auftaler and Jaeger. Oh no. It just goes from bad to worse. That's so many significant kills. Like losing another Cobra, losing the M1A1, losing the support units like his recon jeep and the M113 here. The scouts are going to get taken out, so he's going to lose his recon. The engineers are going to get chewed up by the sheer amount of infantry in this tree line. This is really, really rough. Tofuk going to have to make things work on this bottom side as he moves forwards the H1F Cobra to engage these Jaegers. Once again, we're in a position where infantry are unsupported by AA. Even just shifting the chaparral down a little bit might be a good idea in the situation. But instead, the H1F Cobra just being allowed to get as many kills as it likes. And I think here Tofuk, anticipating that Mix would bring in another F-16 to try and kill this off. So bringing his F-15C out to patrol beforehand, actually really, really smart. Just got to be careful that it doesn't fly too far forwards and then end up being tailed by the F-16, in which case the F-16 has a good chance of actually shooting down the Eagle. Fire team, again another unit biting the dust as it gets caught in a very, very awkward position up that hill. The double mech rifles here at least. Oh, nice job getting the stun onto the M1A1 Abrams and side shots to boot. Now looking for the M60 here as well. Okay, not too bad. A10 Thunderbolt hovering around on the bottom side. M2A2 leading the charge. Gonna bump into the Jaegers. The Jaegers will certainly be able to do quite a lot of damage with their AT. The M1A1 also doesn't want to sit at close range with those Jaegers because even if they're not doing much damage, they will deal a lot of cohesion damage at least. And that M1A1 will become a lot less effective. Now Eagle coming over, looking for the kill onto the Tow Cobra, but the Tow Cobra lands, so the Eagle can't use its missiles. Really nice micro from Mix to make sure that doesn't happen. And the F-15 goes down to the AA. Now the Chaparral going to be getting free hits onto the Thunderbolt if it can land, and it does not. Neither does the Stinger, so the A-10 actually getting out, but didn't really do anything. That's a lot of points invested in that. It's 235 points, which did absolutely nothing just then. In a situation where Tofuk can't really afford that. But there has been a lot of damage done here. The M60 got taken out, the M1A1 Abrams definitely damaged a lot of this infantry, very low now, but just no follow-up really ready for Tofuk. He's got the double M1A1s ready to follow up the mech rifles on the bottom side, so he might be able to start contesting again in this bottom side area, but the issue we now foresee is that Mix is 1,024 points up, there we go, and Tofuk's only on 90. And by putting a leader in the center flag, he's only going to stop the tick. He's not going to be gaining any points for himself. He's really got to make it work on this bottom side. The last of the rockets coming out of the M270 MLRS, they're going to help pick off the engineer flash so the Jaegers can get the kills. And another F-15 hanging about. Very, very nice aircraft. I remember I used to fly them around in Battlefield 2 a lot. Really, really good fun. M1A1 Abrams CP does manage to come in here, cancels the tick. So, nice little sort of area for Tofuk, really, with the double mechanized rifles, with the double M1A1 Abrams. But he is kind of vulnerable to being flanked in this situation because he's got units above him, he's got units like to the left here, and if he loses the engagement on the bottom side, there's potential that units are going to be coming up from there. So yeah, this is tough. F-15, oh no, gets taken out. The Chaparral lands on target, the Stinger follows, and whilst the F-15 did manage to force back, the Thunderbolt did not get the kill and goes down. That is really, really tough for Tofuk. Chaparral was traded amongst that, as it did reveal itself firing at the F-15, but more and more troops going to be invested into the bottom side here from Tofuk, and I can't help but feel that if they are Fireteam ATs, the Jaegers are just going to be continuously annoying in this situation. And this is one of the things that was so powerful about the 8th on the previous patch, was that they did have access to this German infantry that was so abundant and really, really strong. Like 11 strength squad with G3s, which have decent damage, plus the Panzerfaust, which is enough to deal with sort of lighter armor. Really, really just strong combination. Cheap as well. 50 points apiece. So, Jaegers leading the way. M1A1 at least manages to find the Unimog there. Where did the Bradley die? That was further up, actually. That was the Bradley of Tofuk that he lost to this infantry blob. Oh, but the M1A1 went down. Oh no. That is really, really not good news. I was saying it could be flanked, and I think it was quite thanks to the M60 there. Stinger Chaparral really not hitting the mark. Wow, Tofuk getting very unlucky with the ZA today. Is the there's no way the Tow Cobra kills the Chaparral. Okay, the Stinger managed to hit just in time to take down the accuracy on that Tow Cobra, but that was crazy. Alright, well, Mortars here trying to help the infantry engagement against the Jaegers, but Mick's doing a good job of keeping his infantry and units resupplied here. Tofuk also trying to do the same with his UH-60A supply, moving back the mechanized rifles to get them back to full strength. Meanwhile, the M1A1 Abrams CP, a big risk here, because it's on low cohesion. If it takes one more rocket from one of these Jaegers that's following up, then it's going to be potentially routed, and that's when these tanks love to show their side armor and get killed at close range. So yeah, this is going to be tough now. Another Jaeger has come in. You can see that it's been stunned. The engineers really have to get over here ASAP to stop this M1A1 Abrams getting taken out. Mechanized rifles, looking to finish those off in the center. Tofuk just about holding his ground in the middle. But the unit concentration here is well in favor of Mix. And he still has the lead in terms of conquest points, so Mix looking pretty good right now. Engineers with these flash launchers struggling to do any significant damage to the Jaegers. The big problem with these is the flash launcher just doesn't have that much ammo. And so whilst it can dislodge the enemy infantry that you're firing at, it just doesn't really end up doing any significant damage over time, and the squads themselves are very small, so they just end up getting killed off themselves, and that's exactly what's just happened here. Both the Jaegers still alive, both the engineer flash now dead. And now we got big rocket strike coming in, smashing the mechanized rifles. M3A1 Bradley falling back. Now this bottom side looking not too bad for Tofuk, but still just can be continuously irritating to get through these Jaegers. And you can see these Jaegers have got incredibly good efficiency due to using most of their AT weapons. Now the Cobra will help clean things out, but this M1A1 Abrams CP not going to be able to sit here very much longer, as two Jaegers are now pushing into that position. M1 Abrams pushing across the open, mech rifles coming in, M1A1 here also now moving in, and this Abrams is now reversing with side armor facing, blown to smithereens. Jaeger trying to hold on here in the face of all of those units, but the M1A1 Abrams, or the M1 Abrams there, managed to kill the M113 on the road. That's really nice. And now the M1 Abrams comes up on the hill, takes out the M1A1 Abrams CP. That's surely it for Tofuk. There is no real way for him to get back in the mid unless this push in the bottom really pays off. He does manage to take down the Thunderbolt at least, but you can just see all the red on the right hand side where Tofuk's losing units left, right and centre, and that is going to be another victory for Mix. But Tofuk putting up a fantastic fight in that one. Unfortunately, there was just that moment where Mix managed to take control of the centre of the map and just didn't let go from there. In the end, 6,655 kills to 5,555 losses for Mix. And what a game. What a game indeed. There was aircraft going down all over the place in that one, as well as fast and furious tank engagements. That was brutal. Absolutely brutal game. The Mix really doing a good job. Got loads of value out of his Cobras. Especially killing off this one Stinger. Opened up so many kills on that bottom side, and that's just on Tofuk for not having another Stinger or even a Chaparral ready to go on that bottom side as he continued to make that push. He did need to make the push. You know, he needed to try and make his much ground as quickly as possible, but alas. M1A1 Abrams CP actually doing okay for itself. F15 also doing relatively nicely. Another M1A1 there doing well. And this Cobra doing the same thing to Mix. Both players neglecting their man pads on that bottom side. But alas, excuse me, Mix now 2-0 in this best of 5. Tofuk needs to try and find a way back. We'll have to see if he can do it next time, but that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.